It's 1 o'clock. Here's the news read by David Geary. About 45,000 workers are joining in the first regional day of action in the health dispute. The Ministry of Defence says wounded soldiers will be marching in the Falklands Victory Parade, and more gold medals for British athletes at the Commonwealth Games. The Health Service Pay Campaign has moved into a new phase with the first of the regional days of action. It's taking place in Cheshire and Merseyside, and an estimated 45,000 health workers are taking part, but the response to the TUC call for sympathy action by workers outside the health service has been limited. Ralph Smith, who's in Liverpool, has sent this report.
Despite heavy rain, health workers from all over Merseyside and Cheshire have travelled into Liverpool to concentrate their efforts in one big rally. They've been joined by local authority employees and some private sector workers taking a long lunch hour. But there's been no repeat of the sympathetic action on September the 22nd, when upwards of 25,000 private sector workers staged a 24-hour stoppage. The TUC organisers say they did not expect a repetition because this date was fixed too soon to allow for proper organisation. They say the scale of action in local hospitals and the size of today's rally will be the true indicators of the strength of support for the health workers' case.
The Medical Supplies Department at Addenbrooke's Hospital in Cambridge has been occupied by a group of health service workers. It's the latest in a series of sit-ins at the hospital. Emergency access to the department is being provided. Delegates at a special conference of the Miners' Union have been meeting all morning to consider whether to reject the Coal Board's 8.2% pay offer and hold a pithead ballot on possible strike action. The Miners' president, Mr. Arthur Scargill, has said he's expecting the conference to vote against the pay offer. The union would then impose an overtime ban, which would stop maintenance work at pits during the weekends. Reporting from the union headquarters, our Labour correspondent Nicholas Jones.
The miners' president, Arthur Scargill, is hoping for a sizable vote at this conference against the pay offer. He'd then campaign over the next few weeks for a 55% majority for a possible strike in the pithead ballot that would be held at the end of October. This would then be used to put pressure on the management to increase its pay offer. However, the Coal Board has already indicated that it's prepared to stand firm, believing that most miners will accept the pay offer, which is higher than the expected increase in the rate of inflation and would mean pay rises of between £7 and £11 a week. A group of Scottish miners picketed the conference, protesting at the closure of the Kinneal pit in West Lothian.
And we've just this moment heard that the Miners' Conference has decided to hold a pithead ballot on whether to take strike action in support of their pay claim. The Ministry of Defence have denied newspaper reports that men wounded or disabled in the Falklands fighting wouldn't be allowed to take part in next week's big victory parade in London. A spokesman said that all wounded able to march would be eligible for selection to represent their unit, and some would be taking part. He said the ministry had never said otherwise. The spokesman also denied press reports that the mother of a Royal Marine commander who was killed in the Falklands has been sent a bill for £31 for his lost kit. What had happened was that the mother was sent a note telling her that £31 would be paid to her son's estate to compensate for loss of items from his kit. 2 soldiers serving in Northern Ireland have been charged with the murder of an IRA man. 21-year-old Desmond Jones and 18-year-old Nigel Bailey, who are both privates, were remanded in army custody for 1 week by a Londonderry court. It's alleged that they shot dead Eamon Bradley in the Shantallow area of the city last August. They said in court they were not guilty. The London company which employed the 2 British balloonists who were killed in yesterday's accident in New Mexico says they died when they jumped out after the explosion on board. The company says an eyewitness saw them jump. The explosion was apparently caused when the pilot light ignited the propane gas fuel after a leak. The Israeli cabinet has held an emergency meeting following yesterday's ambush near Beirut of a bus carrying Israeli troops. It's thought ministers have been talking about possible retaliation for the attack, in which 6 soldiers died and more than 20 were injured, but no statement was made after the 2-hour meeting. Prince Philip, who's in Australia as president of the Commonwealth Games, has been speaking about sponsorship and commercialisation in sport. He was asked by Terry Wogan on Radio 2 if the Commonwealth Games, the so-called friendly games, could survive in a world of increasingly professional sport.
Well, I think sporting people and administrators are coming to terms with the costs and the problems of commercialisation. I think there will be arguments and conflicts, but I think that the administrators are getting very much better at coping with with the whole problem of sponsorship and commercialisation. I think it's not necessarily going to destroy the games as such. I think that'll change their character to a certain extent. But the people will be the same. There'll be the same interest, the same fun in competing.
At the Commonwealth Games, police arrested about 200 Aborigines when they tried to enter the main stadium. The group were protesting about land ownership rights. On the fourth day of the Commonwealth Games, it's been Scotland's afternoon in track and field events and England's evening in the swimming. With the details, Derek Mitchell in Brisbane.
England's top swimmer, June Croft, has taken her third gold medal, breaking the Commonwealth record in the 200 metres freestyle in the process. Andrew Asprey has won the men's 400 freestyle final, his second gold, with John Davy in third place taking the bronze. And in the men's 4x2 relay, England have been promoted to silver medal following the disqualification of Canada. Scotland have been moved up into third place. On the track, Scotland's Alan Wells completed his comeback with a brilliant win in the 100 metres, with fellow Scot and rival Cameron Sharp taking the bronze. Meg Ritchie won the women's discus to give Scotland another gold. England's track tally was 4 silvers and 2 bronze today. Wales got a silver as well. And news is just coming in of another silver for England, this time from Sean Wallace in the cycling individual pursuit.
Scotland Yard are trying to find the owner of a porcupine which was found wandering through Sutton in South London. It was spotted by a policeman and eventually arrested with the aid of a dustbin. The porcupine is now behind bars at Chessington Zoo. The Yard are appealing for the owner to come forward. In the city, the midday Financial Times index was down 7.9 at 571.5. And the weather forecast, all areas will have showers or longer outbreaks of rain. Clear intervals overnight could lead to some dense fog patches inland in England and Wales. And that's the news at 7 minutes past 1.
Gloria Hanniford.